everyone. I am Congresswoman Chantel Brown, Communications Co-Chair of the Democratic Women's Caucus. Thanks for being with us today, and thanks to all my colleagues for standing with us. Today is Equal Pay Day, which marks how far into this year women must work to earn what men earned last year. Just think about that. It's 2024, and women are still only earning 84 cents for every dollar a man earns. And these numbers only get worse for moms, Black women, Latina women, and other women of color. This is unjust and unfair. It also makes it harder for women to make ends meet, keep up with costs, and save for retirement. So we're here today to demand action. We know exactly what we need to do to close the wage gap. We need to make sure women have access to high-paying jobs that for far too long have been dominated by men. We need to make sure women have paid leave and affordable childcare so they can care for their kids without risking their paychecks. We need affordable long-term care too, so women can care for elderly parents or other family members. And we absolutely need to end pay discrimination, starting by passing the Paycheck Fairness Act. So we're going to keep fighting. Come on, give it up. So we're going to keep fighting to get this done. And I'm honored to be here with my colleagues who are leading the fight. One of our fearless leaders in the Democratic Caucus is Congresswoman DeLauro, a longtime champion for fair pay, the ranking member of the powerful Appropriations Committee, and the lead sponsor of the Paycheck Fairness Act. And our Democratic Women's Caucus vice chairs, Congresswoman Fernández and Congresswoman Williams. You will hear from them, but no, together, we will never stop pushing to close the gender wage gap and make this Equal Pay Day the last. And with that, I yield to Rep. DeLauro.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. What an honor it is to stand with my colleagues here this afternoon. And I for one, I don't want to be here for any more Equal Pay Days. It's got to go. This is a day that's got to go away. I want to just say, I know we're waiting Whip Clark. I want to thank her. She just arrived. Okay, Whip Clark. You want to go first?
No, I do.
All right. Okay. So, but and Representative, I want to mention Representative Lois Franco. She's not feeling so well today. So, but we've got a great champion and a great leader in Representative Chantel Brown, and she is our DWC Communications Chair. So she is stepping in today. Congresswoman Williams, Congresswoman Hayes, Congresswoman Fernández. I thought I saw Congresswoman Schakowsky, but maybe she was on her way.
She's here.
She's here. Okay, great. Okay. Thank you to all of you who are joining us. You're all advocates, and we need you as advocates. We all know that this institution responds to external pressure.
That's right.
You are the external pressure. I want to be clear, as I said, I'm not proud that we must once again mark this day where the average woman would finally be paid as much as a man for the work that both of them did last year. But I am proud of the incredible group of women who have joined us today. More and more Americans are realizing how unacceptable it is that after 3 decades, we have made only marginal progress on the issue of equal pay. On average, Chantel pointed out, a woman still earns only 84 cents for every dollar that a man makes. And that's according to the American Association of University Women. And the disparity is even worse for women of color. The pay gap exists in every state, regardless of geography, occupation, education, or work patterns. This is not just a problem for a few years out of a woman's life. It is a lifetime problem. The gap can put women hundreds of thousands of dollars behind in lifetime earnings, severely reduce the amount they receive from Social Security, pensions, or investments during retirement. That really puts a strain on working families and our safety net as a whole to support them in their older years. This shows that unequal pay is not just an issue of fairness, but a major economic burden on families across the country. The pay gap persists because of loopholes in the Equal Pay Act. The Paycheck Fairness Act fixes those loopholes. It mandates better data collection on pay nationwide. It protects employees against retaliation for discussing their wages or their salaries, and removes obstacles to joining a lawsuit that challenge the systemic discrimination, which is what it is, systemic discrimination. It gives the Equal Pay Act the teeth it needs to get the job done. I have had the opportunity to introduce Paycheck Fairness Act every Congress since 1997. Since then, we have passed it 4 times on this side of the Capitol. 4 times it has died in the United States Senate. We've got to change that. So we need to break that cycle. At the end of the day, it is really this simple. Men and women in the same job deserve the same pay. There isn't a more simple effort here. It's a basic concept. It's eluded so many in our workforce for far too long. If we truly believe that, we should act on it. Let's make Equal Pay Day a thing of the past. It's time to get the bill out of Congress onto the president's desk. I know we will do it. You know, I had a mom who died at age 103, and while she taught me many things, 2 principles I carry with me all of the time, and that is don't give up and don't take no for an answer.
That's right.
And this crowd is not going to take no for an answer, nor will it give up. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce the House Whip, the Commander-in-Chief here, of getting us through all of the bills that come up, and is doing one hell of a job. Congresswoman Katherine Clark.
Thank you, Rosa.
Who's from Massachusetts, but she's really from New Haven.
That's right. Thank you, Rosa DeLauro. When I was running for Congress, the first bill that I pledged to co-sponsor was Rosa's pay equity bill. And thank you for being such a champion and for persisting. And thanks to Congresswoman Brown and the entire Democratic Women's Caucus and my colleagues who are here. Today we mark a systemic injustice that is weighing down half our country, holding back our families, and violating the most basic principles of our democracy, that we are all created equal, that we are all entitled to the pursuit of happiness, and that a full day's work should mean a full day's pay. For decades, Democrats have fought to put these principles into practice. Half a century ago, President Kennedy signed the Equal Pay Act. Decades later, President Obama signed the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. And now, Rosa DeLauro leading the charge, it's time to send the Paycheck Fairness Act to President Biden. This should not be a partisan fight.
That's right.
Equal pay for equal work would add $500 billion to our economy annually. America can't possibly be at our best if half of our talent is not paid equally. Republicans talk a big game about the economy, but their record tells the real story. At every turn, they disregard the fact that women and women's work is essential to our nation's prosperity. Republicans vote against equal pay, they vote against childcare, they vote against paid family leave, they vote against reproductive freedom, then they turn around and wage a control over women and girls. The difference between our parties has never been starker, and the stakes have never been clearer. Will our daughters have the same opportunity and self-determination as our sons? Will women have a 21st century economy that works for them? Or will we allow Donald Trump and Speaker Johnson to turn the clock back? Not if my friend from New Mexico has anything to say about it. Let me introduce to you Teresa Fernández.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, and we'll also claim her as somebody from the Rocky Mountains. So if you know New Haven, it's a little cloudy there, but we stand here today, as we all know, because women are not paid for their work. They are not treated as equal, and when we don't get paid equally for our work, what does that say? That says to women who are not being paid, we do not value your hour the same way we value a man's hour. We do not value the way you toil the same way we value the way a man toils. And let me tell you, we know women toil. Women deserve more than equal pay, if you ask me, because we do so much. But one of the things that is very disconcerting is the manner in which equal pay impacts Latina, Native American, Black American women. We have talked about the little bit of improvements that we've been able to make for women. We are here and the sun is shining and the cherry blossoms are going to come early because there is such a thing as climate change. But when are we going to celebrate? Not celebrate. When are we going to commemorate the sad Latina Equal Pay Day? When are we going to commemorate the sad Black Women Pay Day? When are we going to commemorate the Native American Women Pay Day? Summer's going to come and pass us by. We're going to be in the fall, and for Latinas and Native Americans, it's going to be close to winter. Imagine having to work 10 to 11 months longer if you are Latino or Native American to get the same pay. That is simply not right, and that's why we need to close the gap. That's why we need Rosa DeLauro's bill. And yes, we passed it. We passed it out of our Education and Labor Committee, didn't we, Miss Hayes?
Did my job.
She did her job. We did our job. Guess how many Republican women voted for that last Congress? Zero. Nada. Not a single Republican woman who sat in that chamber last Congress where everybody knew they got paid the same as their male counterparts, but they were not willing to stand up for the women who don't know what their colleagues are getting paid. And that's all we're asking for is transparency. Let's make sure that people know so that the women can set a demand, the same kinds of protections that men get. So let's not forget that, let me tell you this number. I missed this, but let me go back to it. In 2021, Latinas earned 54 cents to every dollar a non-Hispanic white man earned. Guess what we did? 2022, a whopping 57 cents. 3 cents? Is that enough? That is absolutely not enough. We don't have the data for 2023, but we know it's not going to be that much better. So let's ask, what can we do? We are standing here to make sure that you tell everybody that it's not fair, but you can do something too. So if you're watching this press conference and nodding along and saying that's just not right, can I do anything to help eliminate that gender pay gap? Yeah, have conversations with your colleagues. Say, don't you think this is not fair? Because private industry is doing this on their own when they are hearing from their employees that they want that transparency. Because the other thing we found in our Education and Labor Committee is that the companies do better when there is equal pay. So have those conversations. Reach out if you are listening. Reach out not just to your Democrat representatives, although we are always there for you. Reach out to those who might not have voted for this last time. Ask them to vote for it. So I'm going to say something that, we have our igualdad salarial, like equal pay now. So I'm going to teach everybody a little bit of Spanish, right? So ahora es cuando. Now is the time. Come with me. Ahora es cuando. When is the time that we need equal pay for equal work? Ahora es cuando. Thank you, and I want to now introduce my wonderful vice chair. We really miss not having our chair here, but it's been wonderful to serve as vice chair with my classmate as well, Miss Nikema Williams.
Thank you, Teresa. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Call out a response. I'm Southern, y'all. Good afternoon. I am Congresswoman Nikema Williams, and I proudly represent Georgia's 5th Congressional District. Thank you to my Democratic Caucus, my Democratic Women's Caucus co-chair, Communications co-chair, Chantel Brown, and our Vice Chair, Teresa Fernández. Our fearless leader could not be with us, but know that she fights for women every day in this Congress. And thank you so much to our Whip Katherine Clark for everything that you do, not just for women, but for everybody in this country through your leadership. Y'all, more than 61 years after the passage of the Equal Pay Act, women are still earning less for every dollar earned by men. Over the course of a 40-year career, this pay gap amounts to women losing nearly $400,000. And in my home state of Georgia, the loss is even higher. Women stand to lose more than $418,000 over the course of a 40-year career. This is wrong, and it must end. But we can do something about it. Equal pay is critical for working families. Women are in many cases the primary breadwinner, and less income makes it that much more difficult to make ends meet. We all saw what happened during the pandemic when women were left the workforce, and now we're struggling to catch back up. The disparities are even more stark for women of color. So today's Equal Pay Day, this is just an average, y'all. It doesn't include everybody. As a Black woman, my Equal Pay Day is not until July. I have to work until July 9th of this year to make what a white man made in 2023. Black women still make just 66 cents on every dollar that men make. So for all of the disparities that Black women face, the disparity in our wages is the root of nearly almost all of them. When we take action to close the gender pay gap, it'll bring us that much closer to closing a very unacceptable gap in our economic disparities, the racial wealth gap, where my home city of Atlanta continues to lead the nation. We have one of the widest racial wealth gaps in the country. And in 2024, it's time that we close the wage gap and wealth gaps in this country to live up to the full promise of America. But y'all, House Democrats have a plan to address these disparities. Under Democratic leadership, we passed Ranking Member DeLauro's bill, the Paycheck Fairness Act. The Paycheck Fairness Act was reintroduced just over a year ago, and Republicans have refused to take any action on this legislation. It's sitting on the shelf, and that says a lot about what Republicans think about women, equality, and the majority of this country. We, as House Democrats, stand united for equality and justice for all, especially when it comes to economic justice. It's time to support the Paycheck Fairness Act, and it's time to empower women in the workforce to challenge wage discrimination. It's time to hold employers accountable to the basic standard of equal pay for equal work. Continuing to allow wage disparities to exist in this country, y'all, this is a policy choice, and we can change this. But it starts with us choosing to pass Representative DeLauro's Paycheck Fairness Act. I'm proud to count all of these women as co-conspirators for justice as we do this work together, because we're going to get it done, y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, DWC Vice Chair Nikema Williams and our other distinguished speakers. I want to thank you all for being here. I hope that you can hear the exasperation in our voice. It really doesn't have to be this way, and it shouldn't be this way. And we have the tools in front of us to make progress. And I would hope that our Republican colleagues who say they are pro-family, pro-woman, pro-children would work with us, because the pay gap is really hurting women, families, and kids. And with that, I will call my colleagues forward and we will open it up for questions. Yes, Michael.
I understand how exasperated you are, but there's a lot of joy up here, there's a lot of solidarity and sisterhood. Can you speak to how women can use that spirit in the workplace to kind of advance, although there's exasperation and frustration, that there is an opportunity to form community, to form coalitions, that there's strength in numbers when you're trying to make big change like this?
Well, I think you alluded to it. There's strength in numbers. We have great examples in our leadership, starting with Speaker Emeritus Pelosi to Whip Clark to Ranking Member DeLauro. I mean, so much opportunity presents itself for us to demonstrate the camaraderie, the solidarity, and the sisterhood that can help push policy forward. So I hope that what you see in us will help women see the example of what it looks like to unify, collaborate, and join collectively to move forward a really, really meaningful cause.
But I think the joy is just indicative of the confidence that we are in the driver's seat on this issue.
That's right.
So really, women stepping into places where if you're not making decisions for us, we're going to step into these roles and make those decisions ourselves. And that's from Congress to workplaces to everywhere. Women have to step up into leadership positions so that when those decisions are made and the text is being finalized, printed, that their fingerprints, their footprint, their imprint is all over it. Like, we can't be on the sidelines. We can't just be, in the cheering section supporting legislation. We have to be the ones drafting it, pushing it, moving forward, and amplifying it. So that's the difference that you see. The joy is actually confidence in just the Democratic Women's Caucus and the record number of women in the House, that because of things like that, we're seeing movements in what legislation is coming out.
And as I pointed out, when we were in Ed and Labor and hearing on this bill, we heard from business owners and women in business about how they had implemented and how it helped their businesses. So do it. I mean, go out and do it, and then reach out to us so we can use those stories, because it was really the stories of success and the stories of frustration that lead to what we do. Because our job is to take those voices and make a difference in that building behind us. So do that and reach out to us.
Yes.
Is there any path forward for the Equal Rights Amendment? And have you heard anything about how that could be equal rights amendment?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, look, I think there certainly is a movement here to move forward on the Equal Rights Amendment. Just like on this bill, we're not in a position to put legislation on the floor. We have to be reliant on the majority to do that. It doesn't seem that any day soon that they're going to do that, or to do this piece of legislation. But the Paycheck Fairness Act would go a long way in terms of dealing with an Equal Rights Amendment, which means that men and women in the same job deserve the same pay. And that would give a strength to women's economic security, but also give strength to an Equal Rights Amendment as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. Thank you, guys. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay.